All right, welcome, Connor. Can you hear? I turned my headsets on real quick. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you. Hi, it's great to be on the show.
Yeah. Good, good, good. Okay, didn't hold on. Didn't take my headsets. There we go. That's better.
Awesome.
Okay. Again, welcome, Connor. I may edit the first part out. I may not. It's but just like to thank you for coming on. I know you're a young local newsman just getting started in the Detroit area, but I'd like to first get started with just a few simple questions
Sure.
about just who are you?
Yeah, sure. So, my name's Connor. I'm actually a college student in Michigan State University. I'm from actually the Grand Rapids area, not the Detroit area. So, Detroit's on the east side of Michigan, and I'm from the west side of Michigan. So, but yeah, either way, I'm just finishing up. Actually, this is my finals week of classes at Michigan State. So, I'm a junior studying broadcast journalism, and once we were sent home from college because of the coronavirus, I thought, what can I do? My job was, I was unemployed. I've been unemployed for about a month, and I've been trying to figure out, ways I could, still practice my craft, but help out the community. So I got the idea. We have a community radio station in our hometown that's completely volunteer run. I helped out a lot there when I was in high school. And I thought, how can I work on my craft, but also do something to, help the community? And so I came up with the idea of my show, To the Point, with Connor Smithee. And yeah, that's basically where that came from. We do an interview segment every day, Monday through Friday, and we interview different people within our community, business owners, government leaders, just about how the coronavirus has been affecting them, but also affecting our community as a whole.
What do you do specifically like right now to make a living if in this time, or if not in this time, like what do you do to make a
Sure.
living?
Sure. So normally I'm a lifeguard. I have two different lifeguarding jobs. And so I really love lifeguarding. I like getting to see all the people. I like that it's not just a desk job where I, sit behind a desk doing, I don't know, accountant work or anything like that. I'm up, I'm moving around. And so I do that, but obviously I'm not quite sure what it's like in Texas, but the stay-at-home order that our governor has basically says that all gyms and health facilities basically have to be closed down. So nobody's coming to the pool and swimming. And that's kind of how I found myself unemployed. So that's what I normally do. I unfortunately do not have an income as of late. This show that I've started, like I said, it's a volunteer radio station. So I don't get any kind of money from that. But I mean, it's a great way to, help out the community. I'm very lucky. I've been able to I have some savings and stuff like that so I can pay for rent. But yeah, I mean, right now this podcast is all I'm doing, which is great. I mean, I'm not getting an income from it, but I'm really passionate about it.
It's great. You gotta love what you do, even if you do it for free, right?
Yeah, that's true.
A couple things you mentioned I want to like get into, but focus on these first few, like, and then a few others I also like to ask.
Sure.
So, who do you typically when you're lifeguarding,
Yeah.
for another way to do it? Who do you do it for?
Yeah. So I work for it's like so like I said, I have two lifeguarding jobs. One of them is at school for when I'm, there during the school year, and one of them is in my hometown. I work for the YMCA in my hometown. And then when I'm at school, it's a private company. It's a real, I mean, small company that runs like a health facility. They're tied in with a hospital in the Lansing area.
What the how do you gauge what the people want or need from you, or what do the people want or need from you?
In terms of my radio show, or in terms of lifeguarding, or I guess in what sense?
In the what do you do? So lifeguarding, it could be both too, but start with
Okay.
lifeguarding.
I mean, lifeguarding, it's really just about, I'm trained to look for certain scenarios and intervene if necessary. So if someone is obviously, having a hard time swimming or something like that, I'm trained in a variety of ways to intervene. Now, in terms of my radio show, um, I guess it's not necessarily, and I guess this is something that all journalists have to gauge is what's important for the people to hear. And for me, like I said, I live outside of Grand Rapids, so I live in a really small, kind of tight knit community. And I think, all I ever heard about with this was what's happening, in the big cities like Detroit, Chicago. And I really wanted to bring it, to Grand Rapids, but then also to my smaller kind of neighborhood area and just show people, um, how this coronavirus is affecting us. Because when I started this, there was nobody in my community that was diagnosed with the coronavirus. But as we, but it was still affecting people, the shutdowns and everything were still affecting people. People were out of work. There were different social distancing protocols in place. So I guess, that's a question that every journalism person has to ask is what is the story that I'm trying to tell and why is it important? And so for me, I guess to sum it up in a sentence or two, it would be I was trying to show how the coronavirus was impacting my community.
And you may have mentioned it, but just to get a little more focus, what is the expected result, or what do you think the expected result of the people
Um,
resulting in what all you do,
what
a radio
are
show?
are you asking what they think of the show or
The
what I think?
expected result. What do you, if anything, what do you want people to
Oh, okay.
get out of it?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't really, I guess, have anything. Like, I want them to obviously be informed. Because like I said, at the time I started this, there was no one in our community with the coronavirus, but we've interviewed people in a lot of different positions. We've interviewed people on the local city council. And so one of those things that we talked about was how all this social distancing and cutting back on stuff like that, how that is going to impact our city's budget in the future. So I think that is something that's really important that, if we have to cut back on something, what is that thing we're going to cut back on? I also talked with a mom of a girl who the girl has some health conditions and they would be complicated if they got the coronavirus. So one of those things that I wanted to try to illustrate was how, a lot of people think I'm young, social distancing doesn't matter to me. If I get the coronavirus, it's just the flu, I'll get better. But one of those things that I was trying to, show these people was that, or I guess one of the things I wanted this woman to show, this mother to show these people was that um, you have your actions have consequences, and it might not be, so I'm a young guy, if I get coronavirus it might be whatever for me, I might just get sick for a couple days, but I could carry that virus onto her child that has health conditions and they could have a lot more serious repercussions because of that.
Yeah, and just to touch on that comment you just made, I there's a lot of the fear and worry, anxiety about catching it. What do you do if you get it? What if you do? And it's, to me, it's a little bit about catching it versus spreading it. And everything to me, well, everything I've been hearing, all the stuff I've been hearing, it's more about stopping the spread.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's concern on both ends because it's a very new virus, and obviously if you watch the news, you can see that there's so much we don't know about it. We don't have a vaccine. We didn't have reliable testing. And now that's still one of the hardest things, is to come by reliable testing. So it's about not spreading the virus, but it's also about not getting it if you're in that at risk population. So those are people with immunodeficiencies, or people with, different, older people, people with different health problems, that it wouldn't necessarily be something that would combine with their other, immunodeficiency or whatever, and that could result in more of a problem. So I think it's a little bit of both, how you want to spread the virus. You don't want to spread the virus, but you also don't want to get the virus if you're in one of those populations.
Well, I hope these 5 questions I just recently I showed you the link and everything where I got that 5 questions from. I hope these questions got you thinking a little bit, as you may already know a lot of this, but it's the simple things. If you know it, that's the first step. And thank you for going along with it, and hope it made you think a little bit. I'd like to move on to and we'll switch it up a little bit and start with bringing some more positivity. What are you excited about today, given
What
everything
am
going
I
on?
excited about today? Well, I guess I'm just really excited about the fact that it's getting warmer outside. Obviously here in Michigan, we have really bad winters, and it gets really snowy. I think about a week ago it was snowing, which was crazy, but it's finally in the 60s here. I can go outside in shorts and a t-shirt. And I love the beach. I will say the beaches on Lake Michigan are some of the best beaches. I'd say of any beach I've ever been to. And so I'm really looking forward to when it gets warmer out, and hopefully the beaches will open, and the stay-at-home order will be out over, and hopefully we'll be able to get to the beach this summer, because that's one thing that I really do enjoy, is being able to go to the beach.
Sounds like we're coming to the part of the season where you start to ramp things up, get excited about a little more things with the rise of the warmer weather.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Being in college, when was it a recent thing, or was it back? Can you be date to childhood? When was your passion for communications realized?
Ooh, that's a great question. Well, I was actually on a radio station. I was a guest on there when I was in, oh gosh, I must have been in 6th grade. I was 11 years old. They had this morning show had this thing that they like to call the Wednesday Weather Kids. So they would, bring in an elementary or middle school age kid that would basically read the weather forecast, and they drove you to school in a limo, and you got to meet the morning show people, and it was really cool. So I gotta say that was by far my favorite. That was by far my favorite part of what kind of got me excited about radio. I've always been an extrovert. I've always been a talker. But then my high school had a connection with that community radio station that I'm doing my radio show at now, and so I think that experience in 6th grade combined with my experience in high school really got me kind of excited about the idea. I originally wanted to go into broadcast meteorology, so being like a weatherman on TV, but a lot of people don't know this, and I guess I didn't realize this. There's a lot of math and science involved, and obviously the air around us, there's air pressure and wind force and stuff like that. So a meteorology degree is not by any means an easy degree to get. It takes a lot of calculus, a lot of physics and stuff like that. And so I just, that was originally my plan, but I realized as I was going and I was getting into, calculus and physics and stuff, I was like, this is too hard for me. Like I could have gotten through it. I mean, I would never have quit if that was what I really wanted to do, but I found radio and I realized that might be another way to still enjoy my passion of public speaking and stuff like that, but I wouldn't necessarily have to do all that math.
And we'll get into more of your reasons for radio here in a minute. But another thing, what are you grateful for?
Ooh, great question. I mean, there's so much to be grateful for. I'm grateful for going to a school like Michigan State with such an amazing journalism program. Our staff and faculty are just really great people. We have a lot of award-winning journalists that I have as professors, so I think that's really great to be able to go to a school like that. But then also my friends and my family, because there's one thing I've learned in life, and that's you really can't go through life alone. You need other people to be with you, especially as an extrovert. Um, I have a lot of great friends and a lot of great family that support me, and so I guess I'm really grateful for them.
All right, so you mentioned at the closer to the top of the shows, we like to say in the industry about when they said they're closing down the school and you wanted the, you opted to start up this radio show. Tell a little bit about the reasoning behind a little more
Sure.
about the starting. It's called To the Point with Connor Smithee.
Yeah, yeah, sure. So, I guess I should start with how school got canceled. I don't know how it is down there in Texas, but all of the schools in Michigan, as the coronavirus, kind of spread through the Detroit area. The Detroit area is a big hotspot for coronavirus right now. But as it kind of started to spread through, we thought, schools are going to get canceled. They're already canceling schools in New York and other places. It's just going to be a matter of time before schools go online. And so, we were betting on when school would be canceled, just for fun. And then we walked into class one day and we got an email from the president of the university that said school's canceled. So at the time, I still had a job because the governor had not put in her stay-at-home order, so pools were still allowed to be open. So I was still busy with working. I mean, I wasn't working too much, but I was still doing work. I still had something to keep me occupied. But then um that closed down, and so I found myself unemployed, and I thought, well, I need to do something other than stay inside all day. I'm going to go insane, and I really want to practice my craft and get better at it. So I called up our station manager. Like I said, I knew him from high school, because I volunteered there back in the day. And I said, hey, I'm looking, I want to start a radio show, like a talk show, and just, talk about what's going on and interview different people in our community. And he said, that sounds great. Plan it out. Let me know when you're ready to go. And so we are in our third week right now. This is our third week of shows. So everything's going great. We air the show twice a day, and we have a different person in the community every day. Today, I think we're talking with, let's see what day. Today, we're talking with a city council member. So, yeah, but that's how the show got started, and we've been off to a great start ever since.
Really quickly, what about the when does your show like release a new episode?
Sure. So we air the show twice a day. It's at 10 a.m. and 8 p.m. It's the same show. We just air it twice in a day, and so we do that Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. and 8 p.m. We also put it afterwards on a podcast at our website, which is lowellradio.org.
So when you say every day, it's one show twice a day, Monday through Friday.
Yep.
To
So
make it a little more
it's the
clear.
same show that
Okay.
airs at 10 a.m. and 8 p.m. We replay it at 8 p.m. just so more people can listen in.
All right. Cool. You just definitely picked up a new listener for me, and I'll ask you to like share all these links so I can link them up
Sure.
as well. Sounds like you bring on some good information from the local community
Yeah.
leaders, lake city leaders.
Yeah, no, we try to, city leaders, business owners, people in the community that have been affected. We try to do a little bit of everybody because that's the one thing is no matter who you are, this virus has affected you in some way. I mean, I'm obviously not sick, but I'm sitting here inside right now. I would normally be about 60 miles away at my apartment in school, but here I am back home for the summer over a month early. I mean, there's no way that you can go through this without the virus, not affecting you.
So when you're talking about walking us through your thought process on when you're showing up for class, and all of a sudden, what you pull up your phone and you see an email from the school president about school being canceled. Usually, you like back when it was, I graduated 10 years ago from Sam Houston State University. Also, a good communication school. Where one of our biggest, most popular alumni, being Dan Rather, he graduated from there 55 years ago. But anyway, we're showing up to this classroom door, and we're sitting there wondering 20 minutes before class, 10 minutes, some get there right out of bed, go and head to the classroom door. The teacher's not there yet. There's all these talks about the teacher didn't show up 15 minutes late. Is class going to be canceled? Not much less total school. Like it's a whole different ball game and story. But it just got me thinking of all those times sitting there waiting for the professor, teacher,
Yeah,
instructor to get there.
for sure. I think
Oh,
the
is
only
class going to get canceled?
Right. No, I think the only difference with that is though, because I've had the same thing happen before, where's the instructor? Is the instructor going to show up? Please don't show up. Class is canceled. But I think the big difference here was though that the entire school was closed down and nothing like that has ever really happened. And I know a lot of people that were kind of scared because they were like, I know people that live at school or at their
Yeah.
university, and so when the university shuts down, where are those people going to go? Are they going to stay? I mean, there was, and I guess I want to say it escalated the fear among the students that, like my friends and stuff like that, because people were like, what does this mean? Like, is school? I mean, right now there's still talks on if we're going to have school in the fall normally, or if it's going to be some kind of hybrid or online. We just don't know yet. So it's one of those things that we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, and it's one thing to hear from the teacher that they leave a note or you get an email from the teacher. It's another thing to hear it just demonstrates scale. Like the scale of the whole situation can cause the fear, the anxiety. I like to say
Yeah.
more that causing the anxiety over the fear.
Yeah, for sure.
So a couple few things I like to just go over. I'll try and get you out here in time so you can prepare for your next thing in the day, and I'll be sure and also keep up, and I'll save your whatever wherever you as well. But what right now do you think people need to know?
Oh, wow. Are we talking people in my community or people in the country as a whole or just people in
Let's
general?
start with just in the community.
Yeah, I mean, in my community, I think the community I live in is pretty rural. So there's a lot of people that I think are kind of thinking this virus will never come here. This doesn't affect me. Why are we closing down shopping centers and stuff like that? But I think people need to know that, first of all, the virus already is in our community. Second of all, this affects everybody. And it should be affecting, just because you're in a rural environment. That's actually a big problem right now. Is not necessarily in my community, but in a lot of other rural places. The country's running into the problem of, these people are a lot more spread out. It's harder to get them care. A lot of times rural communities have less income than other communities. So there's that whole issue as well. But then I think also just knowing that we're a strong community, and that we're going to get through this. An image I always like to bring up when I'm talking on my show is a couple years ago, there's a big river that goes through our town, and the river was flooding like never before. There were shops that were going to go under, and we had people sandbagging. We had a construction company bring one of those giant cement barriers down. I mean, we really came through as a community. And I think it's just one thing that communities come together, and they can come together in times like this, and we will be okay. And that's something I think we need to know here in my community, but also across the country, that everybody needs to come together, and that we will get through this, because we're a strong country. We've been through a lot, and we have a lot more to go through.
Everybody certainly, yeah, that's some great points. Everybody needs to come together, but you know what? Everybody is coming together. If you look at all the entertainers specifically who are seemingly more popular, more famous, the sports stars, figures who aren't playing right now, the actors, actresses, directors, film directors who can't go to their film sets to provide this entertainment. Now you're all of a sudden seeing these same people in the same boat as you,
Yeah.
and we are coming together in that sense, that we're in this together.
Yeah, for sure.
How do
uh,
you, and you can speak what's on your mind about that, but what are you also doing to help keep the moral of the people up?
Yeah,
Keep
I mean, I guess as a reporter, it's not necessarily my job to keep the morale up. I mean, if there's a bad story out there, like, someone getting hurt or someone getting sick, or businesses being closed, I mean, it's my job to report on that. So I guess I wouldn't necessarily say I try to keep people informed, but I try not to be such, like a Debbie Downer. As I try to, provide information, but I also try to remind people that, like I said before, we're a strong community. We've gotten through this before, and we'll get through this, we'll get through this again.
And final question, and I'll get into a few emotions here. Just real quickly, just tying it all in together, and doing some things. Proceed with talking to local leaders. What other way? Who else have you brought onto the show in your 3 weeks that you've been,
Sure.
keep
So
trying to tie the local community
right.
together?
Well, we have a big nonprofit in our area that works with different people. And so we've been, meeting. We met with that nonprofit. They help give out food to people. So we met with them. Like I said, we met with different city leaders. We've met with a lot of different business owners. And of course, this is all over the phone because of social distancing. Um, and yeah, we've met with a lot of different business leaders, and it's really interesting. A lot of these business leaders have almost become charity leaders too. I just talked to a woman yesterday that on the show, and she runs a nail salon, but the nail salon's obviously closed, and she started to make masks, like, the masks you're supposed to wear out in public now. And she's made over 1,000 masks in the time since they've closed. And she said, yeah, my mom and I work hours and hours a day, and they're not making money off of these. I think some of them they sell, but I think they give away like 90% of them, and they're just doing that to be, so helpful. So I think we interview a lot of different business owners that are trying to be helpful in the community. Also looking at schools. I live in a community where there are a lot of people in school, like with that are out of school, and trying to figure out how you're going to get this learning online, especially because, like I said, I live in a really rural area. There's a lot of people. One of the teachers I talked to does not have good internet access. So that's one of the problems that we have in our community, is figuring out how to run school online when there's a large portion of people that, you know, don't have internet access. So one of the things that we talked about was they gave away a lot of, those Chromebooks, those cheap laptops. And so they gave a ton of those out to students. They loaned them out so that way they could at least hopefully get onto the internet.
So what is in recent in your recent, and maybe this is it, but what is the scariest moment that you've encountered with starting in your communication work? What's a scary moment?
Hmm. I guess I haven't really come into anything that I would say I was scared of. I mean, I've definitely had hard experiences. Like, I've done things that have been difficult. One of the things I think of was, I do not like getting dressed up by any means. That's part of the reason I went into radio and not television. But when I started studying television, that's the main focus of our program here. We started studying television. So I had to, get all dressed up and stuff. And I was like, I cannot do this. And it wasn't actually that bad. And I really enjoy television more than I thought. So I guess that's not even a scary thing. I don't think I've had anything that I would qualify as scary, but I've definitely done some hard things, some changes that I wouldn't necessarily have made, but I've been pushed to do. And I mean, they've all ended up well, though. So I guess I haven't really done anything scary.
Yeah, like just and see if I can get through this in a minute. That we're in this TV show. So shoot back. This is during my time in class, going to class. I'm in this TV studio production class, and we're on this project making shooting a magazine show. We have all the positions lined up, and all of a sudden, our professor, instructor comes over the headsets. We're like, I'm down there. I think I was floor director, and he comes over in the headsets. Does anyone? And just to make this a little shorter, he just. I all of a sudden I heard him say, "Ask everyone, is anyone interested in doing the being the director?" Because I guess the person who was either wasn't there or they decided to drop out. I volunteered myself for that.
Awesome.
And me being a not unspoken person, man of few words type person, that was a scary moment for me.
Yeah.
And actually, it made me one love the TV industry, love TV news broadcast, and I love directing. Actually, I
Awesome.
would never realize that I actually love.
Yeah.
I haven't got anything in that sense as of recent, like professionally yet, but I'm more in the digital production, and I've done
Right.
some practice on the Grass Valley Switcher as technical director. I've done a few taped shows, but
Right.
haven't professionally done yet. But there's a scary moment that I actually learned something about myself.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I mean, it's those risky things that will, put you in the spotlight, that you're never going to know if you like something unless you try it. So you got to step out of your comfort zone at least some point.
It's not stepping out of the comfort zone and just getting uncomfortable, literally getting
Right.
uncomfortable.
Right.
So do you have a really quick, yeah, sad or maybe you move a happier or even a funnier moment? Do you have any of those?
Um, I guess that's a great question. I can't really think of anything that I would qualify as sad, but I can think of things that I would say are happy. One of the things I kind of talked about the flood that we had in our town and kind of linking that as how our community came together back then, and then how our community is going to come together with the coronavirus. And I've had several people bring that up, and that just kind of made me really happy just because I remember that I was 14 years old. I was filling sandbags, and I remember coming together. Obviously, I didn't want to be spending my days sandbagging stuff, but it's one of those things that we came together, and that's you know something really awesome about our community.
It's coming together. That's what it's all about. And I want to acknowledge and hope that you decide, yeah, keep doing what you're doing, even if it's free. Is like or not free, but like if don't let the revenue part like stop you from doing this. If it's first of all your passion, I want to acknowledge you for first of all starting this up when it's giving you something to do, and
Yeah, thank you.
it's giving other people something to listen to, some words of maybe not wisdom, just words of, and you're doing your part to inform people, and it's we need those people who are stepping in their passion and acknowledge you for that.
Yeah.
And how can we how can listeners, how can people get in contact with you?
Sure. So we have a Facebook page, like you mentioned. I think at the beginning, it's called "To the Point" with Connor Smithee. We've got a little our profile pictures like bullseye with like an arrow going through it. So that's how you can find us. Just search "To the Point" with Connor Smithee on Facebook, and that would probably be the best way to get in contact.
Are you on any other social media as
Uh,
well, or the
that's the
best way?
That's the main way. If you want to listen to the show, we do have a website, lowellradio.org/2.the.point. That would be the way to get our podcasts. But yeah, I mean, we're mainly doing Facebook right now. We're focusing on Facebook.
It's good. Take advantage. I see it launching up, getting. It's much like YouTube is. Are you on YouTube, by the way? Just
Uh,
Facebook.
no, our show is just on Facebook right now.
Okay. Yeah, Facebook Watch is coming. They're. I see they're looking to compete directly with YouTube.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So where do you content on? Okay. All right. Two final questions I have, and I can let you go.
Sure.
What do you want to learn from either someone who has been where you want to go? I mean, let's say it there from someone who's been where you want to go.
Yeah, I mean, radio is all about experience. So I guess just hearing different people's stories about how they got to where they are, in one of the bigger markets. Just hearing because everyone has a different story. And I like to get feedback on a lot of my work from other journalists within the area. And just hear what they, think. How can I improve? So, I mean, I don't think there's necessarily one thing I need to learn from a specific person, but hearing everyone's story, I think, gives really good context and a really good vision for me to kind of set so that I have realistic expectations going forward.
All right, and this one, it's since I do this for like the film industry, I like to like make it this last question as it's way to make you think, and it's to help incite and inject creativity into a form of a story. We all have a story. It may not be, but this is a good, maybe a good, to get the creative juices flowing.
Hmm.
I call it the perfect ending to your story. It's 100 or so years, or it's down the line, and you've done everything you want to do. You've talked with the people that you, and all the amount of people you want to talk to. You've done it, and you're at that perfect age you want to be many years in the future. What day, where do you see that perfect ending to your story?
You know, that's a great question. And I don't know the answer to that because like I said, I'm a young guy. I have a life, an entire life in front of me. And I don't know where it's going to take me. Like I said, I'm really into radio right now, but one thing I've considered, is doing documentary things in the future. But um I mean, it's one of those things that I don't know where I'm going. As long as God leads me there, I know I'm going to be okay. And I know as long as I, put my whole force behind whatever I do, I'm going to be okay and I'm going to be happy with what I'm doing. So, um, I mean, having a beach house would be nice, but as long as as long as I go where God's taking me, I'm going to be okay.
And that's the real way to look at it, the uncertainty.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you. Got a little late start. I don't. I wanted to keep you on time and on schedule and everything, but I think we had a little. Sometimes the shorter conversations are better too.
Yeah.
And this was
I thought it was a good
fun.
conversation. Yeah. Awesome.
And thanks again for giving a little bit of your young experience. I mean, I'm not too far ahead of you either. I'm a little more, but pretty much two young people in the communications industry getting started.
Hmm. Yeah. No.
I'd like to like hook up with you later with the on that documentary thing too, because I've been looking to produce a documentary of something. And
Sure.
there goes
Sure.
my
Yeah. I mean,
background,
this
by
is
the way.
something down the road. This is something down the road, but yeah, sure. Sure.
That'll be fun to we got right. If one thing's for sure, we got a lot of stories that are just evolving right now out of this.
Oh yeah.
There'll,
No,
there'll be a ton of stories.
we definitely do. We definitely do.
But thanks, man, for
Yeah.
coming on and talking and being a guest on here. And I know we were talking about me, or I don't know when that will be, if you can find the time, but I'd love to give my time back as well. So whenever you can
Sure.
work that
Sure.
in,
Yeah.
work
No,
me
hey,
on as well. I'll come
for
talk
sure.
to.
For sure. Hey, thanks, man. Thanks, Thomas. Have a good day.
Uh,